Why did we even set up a district-wide friends group? Well, there were, of course, the funding issues. This is my ninth year in the role of the library director, and the funding started getting cut as soon as I was here. And we tried to do different fundraisers or sales pitches. I even and then weeding, and we all know the problem with weeding because you weed books because they're old and the kids don't want to read them anymore. But then when we weed, we don't have enough books for our students. So it's that age old dilemma that we as librarians face. And then when we're having to make sure we have enough books and up to date books, we don't get enough money sometimes to replace them. So we keep some old stuff that really we need to get rid of. So once I'd explained all of that to the powers that be here in this district, the public information office and the community relations people started working with me to find different ways for us to raise money. And we did a Let's Get Literate campaign one year, and we were trying to raise, well, 2 years, and we were trying to raise about $4.5 million, which is what it would have cost to bring all 42 campuses at the time to an exemplary status of the number of material. And so that really, $4.5 million, they're never going to give us that money in budget. We're not going to raise it really. So ever since I've been here for 9 years, I've been coming up with new ways to raise money. We had a fundraiser that presented a couple of ways. Every time someone got services for their home, we would get money back from that, things like that. And so we looked at that, but we weren't real comfortable, and the school district didn't want to do a contract with the man. So they told me that what I really needed to do was create like a band booster club, but for the libraries, or a athletic booster group, but for the libraries. So that's what we started doing once we were not successful with some of the other fundraising ideas. So, like I said, the Let's Get Literate campaign, it was a great idea, but it didn't fly without the support. And my manpower is myself and my assistant, my secretary, and then all the librarians who, just like all of you, are very busy doing the job at their campus. And please feel free to type in questions or anything that you may have as I'm talking. We'll have time for questions later, but as I'm covering some of this, I'll gladly share it with you. So, can you do it? We came up with the idea to create a booster club. In our world, that's called Friends of the Library. And so I started out with preliminary discussions with my supervisor and my supervisor with the administration. Um, and so we talked and we figured it was a possible way, but we needed to make sure we weren't breaking any laws or doing anything inappropriate. So then we met and discussed the plan with our district auditor. The district auditor did some research, and since it was going to be like a band booster club for the libraries, she had no problem. A booster club for libraries. So we moved on to that. Um, and then we moved on to obtaining official approval from the district. And that's a big thing. And when I talk about the fundraising, one of the biggest problems is, even in book fairs work at elementaries, but in our lower income, they really don't make enough money to have a cash profit. Usually it's just profit in books. So we're continually looking for ways to raise money. And we've done things like restaurants for reading, where everybody goes and you get a percentage of the profits. And those worked fairly well, but it once again, it wasn't working the way we needed it to. So we got approval from the administration, and so we moved on. And what I did was I talked to the librarians then and explained to them, we're not going to take your volunteers who are helping shelf books or doing displays or helping you with other programs, but we do need to know who are those supportive parent volunteers you have, because those are the people we know we're going to be able to possibly ask to be a part of this group at a larger level, at a district-wide level. And like I said, we have a very active PTA board across our district and at each of our campuses. So this is just nothing new to some of them. We just needed to phrase it a little different. So I started working with a group of librarians, a committee, and we looked at some of the different booster club bylaws that the auditor gave us, and we created a basic bylaws for the organization. We essentially did a large portion of the work before we even had officers or a board, because that helped them a lot. And so we created the basic bylaws, and then I worked once again, to have the organizational meeting. And one of our restaurants that had never been able to host a restaurant for reading, they couldn't do that. They hosted a luncheon for me, and we invited all the supportive parent volunteers and all of those that RSVP'd that were coming. We then had a luncheon with them and kind of shared some of our issues with funding and our needs for funding and where our different libraries were, and in relation to number of materials per student. And that was really an eye-opening experience for a lot of these parent volunteers. It appeared the librarian hadn't really shared that much, except we need money, we need money. So the organizational meeting we had at a restaurant, I had to pay the tax and of course the servers, the food tax that it is not exempt because we're a school district, and then the servers gratuity. And the restaurant donated the rest of the meal. So we had our organizational meeting. From that, we had people who agreed to be officers. And at that first meeting, we elected officers for the first meeting. And I would say election, but it was really more of a, I don't want to do this, but I'll do this. And I probably conned or discussed with a few people and let them know that, I'm here and I'm always going to be here as a part of an advisory role for the organization. So we did get a commitment from the volunteers, and from those officers from that group, we scheduled our first meeting with the officers. Are there any questions at this point? I'm kind of running through this. I feel like I'm talking too fast. Okay, Roz is typing, so I don't want to. Our inaugural luncheon, I invited the 3 librarians that helped me create the basic bylaws, and we sent out 30 invitations, and we had about 10 parents show up to the luncheon. I invited some of our retired librarians who live in the school district, and none of them showed up. But so we had about a total of 40 people invited, but like I said, about 20 actual parents, I think I said 20, actual showed up to that inaugural luncheon for us to talk and me to pitch the starting the Friends of the Library group. The number, no, we didn't ask the public librarians yet. They have their own friends group, and I didn't want to infringe on that group or how they were doing things. I do work with our public librarians on summer reading and on identifying early childhood kids. And then we actually are allowed to issue public library cards to our students in our buildings and go and pick them up from the public library so the kids don't have to go there. But that's a whole nother presentation that I was speaking to someone about doing next year at TLA, actually, with a small library group. and with tassels. So possibly that's going to be later. Thanks, Ted. As far as committee members, we started with, besides the officers, we started with 6 officers in the group. We had a president, a vice president, a membership chair, a secretary, a treasurer, and a grants chair and a fundraising director. So 7 officers. And I'm going to tell you, we found that that was too many. And we have now moved to um, a president, a vice president in charge of finance, a secretary, and a fundraising chair, and then myself on the board of the Friends group, because we just had we didn't have quite enough people, and we've only been doing this really 2 full years of active involvement, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So I'm going to go ahead and move on about organizational meetings. So we took those standard bylaws, and then the new board that was elected, we reviewed and edited the bylaws where we were comfortable with it. The logo you see here, the Friends of the Library Creating Opportunities Through Reading, I worked with our public information office and the graphic designer in the district to come up with a couple of logo ideas. I solicited logo ideas from some of the librarians and some kids out there, and this was the logo we finally settled on. And I think actually this is one that our public information office created for us. I will tell you that if you ever want t-shirts or something like that, this is not a good logo because there are too many colors in it. So something to think about. But I'm not a real big t-shirt person, and we really want to do more about getting material to librarians than having t-shirts. So anyway, so we reviewed and we edited the bylaws. We determined our dues, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about dues later, but one of the things to consider is you don't want to price it out and or price yourself out of the market. But we saw this just like PTA dues that everybody joins every year. And so we established $5 as our dues and what the cost was per person for dues. Then we worked with our district auditor to file our charitable paperwork and get us registered and all of those things. And one thing you do need to think about when you're doing this is you have to do a report and pay for sales tax. We don't really sell anything here. If we do, we would need to pay sales tax on a quarterly basis, and you're fined if you don't file a report and pay it. So we've now been moved to an annual report, and we've gotten all of the money except for a late fine because we weren't getting our bills for the sales tax reports from the state controller. But all that's taken care of, but that's just a little warning for you if you're going to start a group like that. So we selected the logo, and you see that there. And then we needed to start promoting the group. And Muriel, I see you're typing, so I'm not going to move too much further until I see what your question is. And the rest of you, please feel free to interject questions while I'm on a slide, and I'll make sure I cover them before I move on. So we promoted the group with the librarians, and I know many of you that are at a campus. Yes, our district auditor did handle all the needed paperwork for the 501c3. We're actually a 501c3 under the umbrella of our school district. So we do have to do a lot of that filing through them, and then they do the rest of the filing for us. So you will need to work closely with your district auditor. I'm very lucky because she's right down the hall from me. So that is one thing to be aware of. Thank you, Muriel, for the great question. Promoting the group. Just like every year you're expected, or many of the campus-based personnel are expected to be a part of the PTA or PTSA, whatever your groups are at your campus. I looked at the librarians and I said, you really need to thing about joining this group, they're here to support you, but the more members we have, the more we can do for our libraries here. Um, and so we went to the volunteer boards, the district wide meeting, and presented our here's our membership forms, those kind of things, um, and we solicited members. And then we also went to some community organizations or some of the people who were on the board that were a part of different community associations. They solicited also for us. Um, and so that was the primary place we got our membership. We only had about 30 members the first year. It wasn't a lot, and not all of my 43 librarians were members either. Um, and you know what? I do need to back up and tell you how we paid for all of this and got started was one, the invitations. I did the paperless post invites for the luncheon, and I just donated the cost of those. I wrote a check and donated that. But then also, so we had some seed money to get started. I had a 50th birthday 2 years ago because I'm 52 now. And I told all my friends to please, there's only so much wine and vodka I could take as birthday presents for turning 50. So if they really would like to, I would appreciate donations to a new organization we were creating, a 501c3 called Friends of the Library. And I raised about $400 in donations for the seed money to get the group started. So that's something to think about too, is donating memberships or donations just to get your organization started. Um, and like most of the rest of us don't, we're tired of some of the gifts we get anyway as we get older. So we talked about community organizations. That's pretty much it. I'm going to move on. So what has the group done so far? They've helped to raise awareness of the need for support of their school libraries. And then this year, to increase our membership, and we increased our membership by 100 more members this year, we had a recruitment drive. And the way we did that was the libraries, each of the librarians were challenged to recruit parents and more the faculty members at their campus who are also parents in the district, or even just their teachers. And so we had a recruitment drive, and the winning campus at secondary and at elementary got a person who worked for them for a whole day on whatever task. And we were very lucky because it was a former librarian in the district who has gone out and actually worked as their winner for getting the most volunteers. One of our high schools recruited over 60 people to be volunteers or to be members of the Friends group. How she did that, she asked her principal if she could award a Jeans Day for anybody who joined the Friends of the Library group. And her principal said sure. And that's how she got that, along with recruiting some of her students. Because our membership is anyone who has a connection to the district. So even some of your vendors that are constant, or if you have a sole source vendor you use, they could be a member, or that salesperson could be a member of your Friends group. So that is one other way we did that. I was also very lucky that Dr. Clays, Jane Clays at U of H Clear Lake, there's a library school there, and she helped us by promoting membership with her faculty and her staff because their college is right in the middle of the school district here. So they're part of us also. So that's how we got over 100 more members this year. And we still were doing our recruitment drive during the beginning of the school year. And next year, the board has talked about that, and we're going to wait and do it like October drive. So that way PTA is over, and then we can focus on just, well, now please be a member of the school Friends of the Library to help us buy more materials for our libraries and those kind of things. Sorry about the backtracking. Another thing that we did do was celebrated School Librarian Day. Last school year, they used some of the money we had made so far, and they bought bags, really the nylon bags like we got at TLA, but it was in a beige and a navy blue, and it has the Friends of the Library logo on it. And they gave those to all of the librarians because what librarian doesn't need another bag to carry books back and forth? Um, so we gave those out on that day, and they had a little note thanking them for supporting the kids. And I also gave a gift to all the librarians as the library director. And last year we drove around to all 43 campuses, which was crazy in one day. This year we all have Latitudes now, which is a tablet, a Dell tablet. And the friends bought, there's only one drive plug on the Latitude. So the friends bought one of those multi-port ones. It looks like a T-shirt, and it's got their the logo on it. It's from Positive Promotions. They bought that, and then I bought them our district theme is leading the way in the 21st century. So I got a little tablet fanny pack is what I call it. It's called an iPad band by Positive Promotions, and we put librarians leading the way in the 21st century. So we celebrated School Librarians Day here, which is by most people's designation April 4th. And then the other way, and this is another reason we never can get our warehouse to sell our books that are weeded. So books that are worth being sold again, we needed to find a conduit for doing that. We didn't want to interfere with the Friends of the Library sale and I deal with 3 different public library entities within our school district. So I didn't want to, be on top of or rain on their parade. So what we've done is we weed the books, and the books that are worth resell are boxed up and sent to our main warehouse, where we're then sent, those books are then picked up by thrift books, which we're going to talk a little bit more about later. But we've made over $1,000 in sales from our weeded books at thrift, and I'll show you the link to that in a little bit. And then because this has all been for our libraries and working for our libraries, we truly primarily did this to support the library. So this year, for next year, the librarians are currently in the process of applying for 3 $500 grants from the Friends of the Library. We have not, Roz, we've not had that complaint about why are we selling all perfectly good ones. Generally, they're not that great. And then if anyone is asking why I'm selling, because most people don't know we're selling them because the sale is not a sale here, it's online. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute. And then if I've not answered your question, let me know. But we really haven't had a public complaint about that. No problem. All right. And I'm moving through this presentation very fast. So where does our money come from? The dues amount. And when I sent this to you, Ted, our dues amount are $5 for individual and then $15 for household. And that's new for next year. So a whole household could join for $15 because we have over 40,000 kids in this school district. And about 30,000 families. If only half of those families join, we've pretty much made our budget. The thrift books, and this is an active link for y'all when Ted sends you this later or you have access to it, but it's thrift books. And thrift books, I'm going to see if it's going to take me there, but it won't take you there. But thrift books, literally we're selling our books online. And we get a check every week or every month for what we've sold from thrift books. It's sent to our post office box here in the district. And They tell us what sold the fastest. They sold us what price it was sold at, and all of that. Um, Thank you, Julie. Enjoy your class. Have fun. So the thrift books, the sale of the weeded books, it's really worked well. There are other organizations out there, and what I'm really needing to find someone who'll take old encyclopedias and those things, because they do have certain restraints on what they'll take and sell for us and what they will not. So please be aware of that. But the Friends of the Library Group has a contract with Thrift Books. Our maintenance men, we have 3 times a year where the books are picked up because we've been weeding heavily, and the maintenance men can move them from the campus to a warehouse, and then our lead warehouse man actually shrink wraps it for me and notifies them he has so many pallets for pickup. And Thrift Books has a truck that comes by, picks them up, and then takes them up to Dallas where they're entered into the system and sold. But like I said, there are other organizations that will do this for you, and they keep telling me they're okay. How am I selling it? Because we were reselling these books. I'm not reselling them. If you look at your board policy, and I'm sorry, I should have put that in here. The board policy states that we can give these and you can also, I bet you 10 to 1, because we all have board policies based on TASB models, the Texas Association of School Boards. The TASB model says that you're able to give the books to a charitable organization. The Friends of the Library is a charitable organization, and therefore we are not selling them. We are donating them to a charitable organization. Yeah, Roz, I knew you'd like that. I see how excited you are just by your typing. So anyway, so yeah, that's where we've gotten around it. Because like I said, my warehouse men were like, we can't sell boxes of books, used books in the warehouse sale. Nobody will buy them. So that's how we got around that now. And we moved on from there. And then donations. And on the website for the Friends Group, and I'll encourage you to go and look at that in a minute, there'll be a link to. We have a very extensive donation levels and all that. And the board and at our general membership meeting last night, we voted to really consolidate that more and not have quite so many things we will do because you gave money to us. My first fundraising director was a little overzealous, I guess. So, and then I guess the last part is just, like I said, donations. And we're really working on trying to get out there and solicit more corporate donations with our different corporate entities. But I also have to be careful that I'm not infringing on our ads for the side of school bus sales and things like that. So generally what we do is some of our parents who are in the district who I haven't noticed an advertisement on the side of a school bus, but we go and solicit donations. And I try to do that once a month with my my fundraising director. We'll go to lunch or something and then go try to hit up a corporate donor or maybe see about scheduling some more restaurants for reading, but with a purpose now. Because I think that's why our restaurants for reading stopped making so much money, is there really wasn't a purpose anymore. So we may revisit that next year too. Sky's the limit, kind of what we're doing or what we're doing depending on what we're making. Moving on. And I think this is my last slide, Ted. I didn't quite make a whole hour, but this is our website. And there is a link on my district website that says the Friends of the Library, is our primary vehicle for fundraising, and that anyone interested in donating or fundraising can contact me or click here and go to the Friends of the Library page. And as I've been chatting with you and thinking, We've got household. I should talk about maybe a business membership and just have a BIM, and have the businesses that are supporting us. And so have just a business membership model or due structure. But we're in our infancies. We're a baby group. Um, this is pretty much it. I mean, I put the link here so people who are looking at this later, hopefully down in the right corner, you're able to go and look at the website and see it. I'm not sure what else to tell you unless some of the rest of you have some questions. And here is questions. No, I did not get any help from the National Friends of the School Libraries group. I haven't joined them because, once again, that's a budgetary issue, but I am probably going to start looking at joining them and doing more in the next year, and at least getting access to their information. Because I know I'm going to be at ALA through January of, well, actually, annual of 2016, because I just got news I was elected to the 2016 Newberry Committee. So I will probably be doing some more stuff with the FOLSA in the future. Thanks, Ted. I forget about that group. Anyone else? Thank you for the congratulations on Newberry. I'm very excited. Roz is typing. Julie had to leave. Okay, Lynette, you hadn't said much, or Lori, or Paula. Did y'all have any questions? I can do a song and dance, I guess. No, my district has not reduced it because I haven't had that much success. They're still in infancy. And I really don't have to tell them how much money we're getting from the Friends group. To be honest, it's a Friends group. It's a separate organization. We have to be audited, and our books have to be audited by the district auditor. But unless she starts spilling all of that, but right now we aren't super successful. We ended this year with a little over $2,500 in the budget, and we're going to have another $1,000 left once we do our grants in the fall. But then we'll have another membership drive next fall because it's only a year membership, just like PTA does every year. Another great question, Roz. Anyone else? Questions? If there aren't any more questions, I think we're done, Ted, unless you have something else we need to do.
I just need to mention some of the upcoming webinars, but thank you, Ty. This is a lot of great information. Clearly, we have a lot of people who are interested in possibly starting their own Friends of School Libraries group. So this is great information for people who are just starting out.
Okay, I see Paula's typing, so we'll wait for that.
But we might have another. Oh, she thanks you, and we all thank you. I just want to quickly mention we do have some other free webinars coming up. Next week on May 15th, we have adding diversity to your strategic planning process. On May 20th, we have information on workforce development in libraries. And of course, that's not just workforce, but it's also workforce and college readiness that we'll be discussing on May 20th. And then on June 11th, we have our friends at Multnomah County Library talking about their nationally known target language initiative. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Ty. This was great information, and we will get the recording and the PowerPoint and your link to your thrift operation posted on the CE page. So thank you very much, and we wish everybody a great rest of the week.
Have a great week. Thank you all.